Normally I would say I don't know where to start, but I think today I could just go to YouTube and hit the news. Hello, type 1 in chat if you exist. Guess we could go over here. No, I actually use my face today, even though I haven't brushed my hair, I guess. Alright, oh, that's a weird thing my camera's doing. How's it doing that? How's it doing that? Hold on. That's gonna bother me. It's like even worse now. Is it fixed? Okay, now it's just bad lighting. It's more trouble than it's worth until I have a decent camera, and then it's probably even more trouble than it's worth. Yeah, it's more trouble than it's worth. I'm not fucking with this. I'm a fucking Glorpian today, again, because it's easier. There we go. Yeah, just pretend I'm a streamer that has one of those nice cameras and a good setup. Just pretend. Okay. So, I'm gonna want something in the background. Is there a lo-fi playlist that is not gonna put me to sleep? I don't think there is. We'll try it. It's either gonna put me to sleep or it's gonna be like weirdly depressing or something. Yeah, this is like a sad scene from Hey Arnold, you know? This is like the end of the episode where fucking Arnold learns like a life lesson or some shit. Like, can we get some lo-fi that's not in minor? You know? Is coffee shop code word for we did a different scale? Okay. Okay. So yesterday, a lot of stuff happened, right? A lot of executive orders, and people in border communities are understandably freaking out because the President of the United States has been talking about deporting them to Mexico and then like bringing the military into Mexico. A lot of stuff going on. One of the first things Donald Trump did yesterday was declare a state of emergency at the border. And the purpose of this is to bring military to the border. Another thing he did was invoke the... What the fuck is it? The Alien... 1998... What? The Alien and Sedition Act of 1798, excuse me. He invoked a law that was passed in the 1700s, because that's how far we're fucking reeling things back here. Which I believe was to fucking... Yeah, Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which is to label the cartels as terrorists, which manufacturers consent to send troops into Mexico Um, opens up the door to doing airstrikes in Mexico and all kinds of crazy shit. So that's another worrying thing. Yesterday, the cell phone app that the migrants use to process their immigration applications was, I guess, just taken down, and along with it, all of their immigration cases were scrapped. That also happened yesterday. And yeah, Elon Musk fucking Zeke heiled after Trump gave him and two other guys fucking. Oh no, Elon Musk didn't get the 500 billion. Some other billionaires got the 500 billion. The Stargate Act, which is definitely not going to be mass surveillance. Trust us, bro. Huntington Beach declares itself a non-sanctuary city. This is what I need to talk about. The sanctuary city stuff. Which Aaron Montes of KTEP has been following. And we have a statement from the chief pig of El Paso here. So let's hear what this guy has to say and figure out what it means. Are they giving us a false sense of security in sanctuary cities?
State DPS and federal partners. A lot of the laws that are on the books in the state, human trafficking, that's a state law. Drug department, state DPS and federal partners. A lot of the laws that are on the books in the state, human trafficking, that's a state law. Drug trafficking, state law. Weapons, state law.
So he's talking about state laws for Texas, which really made me feel some kind of way when he talked about weapons laws in Texas, because I don't know if you know this, but I can walk out my front door with a katana and walk all the way to the store with a katana and fucking go into the store with a katana or a gun, and that's totally okay. I could walk in front of a school with a gun in Texas. Somebody has walked in front of a school with a gun in Texas, and they called the cops, and they said, oh, it's probably just some guy open carrying. But what they've been getting at is they're saying, everybody's saying the police departments. The police departments are not um, going to cooperate with ICE. One of the questions that I sent to Aaron Montes that he said he was going to ask about was if this applies to the sheriffs as well. Another thing that stands out, though, is this guy's saying that we're still going to enforce state laws, which, you know, in the context of Texas, Greg Abbott has been doing some pretty hardline immigration stuff throughout the entire Biden administration, one of those being Operation Lone Star. And what Operation Lone Star is police departments, sheriff's departments, all law enforcement agencies in the area cooperating with ICE to enforce like immigration stops, immigration traffic stops. And I've seen it in action. And I showed it yesterday. There was a fucking CBP helicopter hovering over my city. So when they're talking about the state laws, this is how they've been enforcing state laws in terms of immigration.
You can see them close by.
In El Paso, Texas. This is December of 2023.
Helicopter up there too.
That's a I believe it's a Homeland Security Black Hawk helicopter. My cats are destroying my my futon over here. But yeah, you know, brought this up yesterday. just as an example of how they've been enforcing.
Oh, you should stay right here.
Oh, there's something going on. There's the sheriff's department right there. Look. So they're out.
There's the sheriff's department right there. Look. So that's why I pose the question, it's not enough to say that the El Paso Police Department is not going to enforce immigration law. It's also laughable to say that they do not have the resources because, every fucking police department has a very bloated budget that is probably fucking earmarked for enforcing immigration law. But a sheriff is different than, a police officer. There is the city and there is the county, and they are two different things. The sheriff and the police officer have two different jurisdictions. And sheriffs will work with ICE, as you see here.
With the gun.
Almost every time there's like a immigration raid. This is in response to an immigration traffic stop, by the way. This was responding to a migrant traffic stop. A suspected illegal alien, as they like to say. I feel like the more we use the word alien, the more it starts to sound like a slur, but what do I know? So, helicopter drops off armed agents. Landing behind a fucking trailer park, so... This is sheriffs and border patrol working together to enforce Greg Abbott's state law.
Okay.
So, when I've seen stuff like that, I'm sure you can understand why I would be skeptical when they tell us not to worry.
All laws, especially federal law. Federal law, state law, we will follow all the laws that
That's El Paso's new mayor.
are before us. So we don't foresee doing that. But I do want everyone to know in El Paso that you are in a safe community, that I want you to be able to go about your day-to-day routines. El Paso is vital in economic development.
El Paso is vital in economic development. Please don't be afraid of ICE. Keep showing up to work. Keep making us money. We can't afford to lose the money that you produce with your labor every day. The police department isn't going to work with ICE.
The cross-border trade that comes from Mexico into El Paso and throughout Texas and throughout the rest of the United States is in the billions. So it's been business as usual here for us in El Paso. It's been very calm. It's been very quiet.
It's been business as usual in El Paso. Location of one of the most militarized borders in the United States. One of the most militarized border towns. Although Eagle Pass is giving us a run for our money.
And I want the El Pasoans to know that we're a safe city. We're going to continue to be that. Law.
So that's when the police chief came up and
State DPS and federal partners. A lot of the laws that are on the books in the state, human trafficking, that's a state law. Drug trafficking, state law. Weapons, state law. So we work together to determine who is the best entity to enforce the law and get the best prosecution.
it doesn't sound like he's hesitant to work with ICE.
The Paso Police Department does not enforce immigration laws.
But the question is, we're not asking you if you enforce immigration laws. We're asking if you're going to work in collaboration with Customs and Border Protection, Immigration, Customs Enforcement, Department of Homeland Security to do this. But asking if the police departments are the ones involved might be the wrong question, because oftentimes it's the sheriffs. So about an hour ago, I gave that question to Aaron Montes, and he said that he was going to ask because he's got access to the city officials and the whole press briefing. So hopefully he was able to get some information on that. And they've got a whole YouTube page. I don't even... to muddy the waters. Yeah, it's all Immigrant Legal Resource Center. Who is this? Okay, let's see what they have to say.
We've launched Operation Lone Star.
In March 2021, Texas Governor Greg Abbott launched a border policing program called Operation Lone Star. Under this program, up to 10,000 law enforcement officers work at the Texas-Mexico border to arrest migrants. And that looks like this. This program, up to 10,000 law enforcement officers work at the Texas-Mexico border to arrest migrants. And that
Again.
10,000 up to 10,000 law enforcement officers work at the Texas-Mexico border to arrest migrants.
State Police, it says on the back. State Police, it says on the back, right? Now let's listen to this statement again.
Federal partners, a lot of the laws that are on the books in the state, human trafficking, that's a state law. Drug trafficking, state law. Weapons, state law. So we work together to determine who is the best entity to enforce the law and get the best prosecution. The El Paso Police Department does not enforce immigration laws.
Does not enforce.
10,000 law enforcement officers work at the Texas-Mexico border to arrest migrants. And that looks like this. This is happening in these border counties. In Kinney County, more than 1,300 people were arrested in 2021 for allegedly trespassing on private ranches. Courts have thrown out hundreds of cases like these because they lacked clear evidence. Today, around 800 people are in jail waiting for court hearings. Many have been there for months. Others have been deported without being allowed to seek asylum, which violates U.S. law. But this program doesn't just affect migrants. Law enforcement officers are spending much more time on patrol in border counties. As a result, traffic warnings in border counties have increased by 100% and police citations by 42% in comparison to 2019. High-speed car chases are also on the rise, linked to 30 deaths since the start of the operation. Black and brown U.S. citizens in border areas are disproportionately targeted by Operation Lone Star, with many people feeling at risk in their own communities.
In the middle of the night, there will be cars speeding down the highway. And actually, there was an incident where a police car crashed into a building. I don't understand.
That is another thing that that this guy's been covering that we can get into as well, is the high-speed chases that occur. So we're definitely going to go through that a little bit as well.
How we can be okay with that kind of dangerous situation for people in our community.
Many communities in Kinney County live below the poverty line and lack basic provisions. The county has received more than $3 million, but only for Operation Lone Star. This is money which is not helping to ease the water crisis or fix unpaid roads or school buildings. Join us at endlonestar.com to help end Operation Lone Star.
Based. Okay. I'm glad this was the second result at least. I'm glad that was at least the second result.
We're starting to see.
So, okay. I thought this was gonna be an old video of Greg. Man, this is gonna happen a lot. I'm gonna see something. I'm gonna think this is something Greg Abbott did last year, and I'm gonna realize it's something that's happening nationally right now. Last year, Greg Abbott sent the state guard to the border to guard it, and they were pushing this pregnant migrant woman into the fucking razor wire. I don't even know if you can find the video anymore. Yeah, Texas Tactical Border Force 1 year ago. So let's watch this first.
Border. Dozens of Texas National Guard troops are now in El Paso. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says these troops are being.
So they can say PD's not gonna do like anything all they want. PD isn't the only agency around. There are so many 3-letter agencies in unmarked fucking cars.
Sent to hotspots on the border ahead of the lifting of Title 42.
And take a look at this video we're about to show you. Our crews saw dozens of tactical vehicles leaving a hangar near the El Paso International Airport. Well, a spokesperson confirmed that those are Texas National Guard's troops. In a news conference today, the governor is calling this the Texas Tactical Border Force Unit, who will
BORTAC.
focus on stopping illegal immigration at the border. There's a total of 545 troops, a part of the unit. We're still working on finding out how many of those troops are currently here in El Paso.
We've seen some examples of the National Guard having done this already that we have now turned into an official operation. If you go back to last December before Christmas, there was a long line of migrants trying to get into and actually getting into El Paso. They were lined up in long lines and getting into El Paso. And
because he shut the border down, pencil dick.
we deployed a unit somewhat like this. This was a precursor of today's announcement.
Governor Abbott went on to talk about the miles of barbed wire troops set up.
So yeah, they set up miles and miles of barbed wire, how people were trying to get through the barbed wire, and the Texas National Guard was pushing people back into the razor wire, causing severe fucking lacerations, like big fucking gashes in their legs that needed stitches.
Across the border here in El Paso, Abbott says the Biden administration estimates.
I mean, even if I did find the video, I couldn't show it because there was a lot of blood.
Administration estimates around 13,000 people will come across the border on a daily basis once Title 40.
Fucking plot twist, razor wire fucking cuts people up. Same with fucking saw blades. So I'm guessing this is a dash cam from one of the migrant chases that got released. He put in a request and was able to obtain this, like, public information request, one of those things. It looks like they're following this red vehicle for a while. So apparently, the guidelines around a safe chase, is very different for these situations than it is for like others, as in they're gonna be a lot more aggressive and there's also the fact that, when you chase somebody with the threat of making them disappear, of disappearing them, yeah, they're gonna run away. They're gonna do dangerous fucking maneuvers to get away from you. They're fucking terrified of you. So now we're going through a residential. Okay. 20 minutes into chasing this person. And the reason for these chases is they're suspected of having a migrant in the car. According to Greg Abbott's revised definition of human smuggling, if you have a coworker that's an undocumented migrant and you don't know that they're an undocumented migrant, you give them a ride home from work, you're now a human smuggler. They loosen the definition so much that they really don't need a lot to fucking chase you like this now.
Yeah, for them, he's running on the shoulder. We're still right now on 375.
And if it's not enough for you that, you know, we're dehumanizing people, we're putting this much fear into them where they're like literally running for their lives, you know, this is going on a road that you use daily. People are on their commutes to work, dodging this fucking police officer that's chasing someone. Let me just make sure that there's no like, because we gotta see like how it ends, but like, okay, pit maneuver on a turnaround didn't work. Pit maneuver at the on ramp. Yeah, that's a good thing I didn't show that. So I'm gonna link this in chat just in case anybody watches the VOD later and they want this as a resource, but I'll just describe what's happening here. The vehicle is on an entrance ramp to what appears to be US 54, the border highway. The ICE agent has attempted to do a pit maneuver twice as they're entering and failed. The third pit maneuver causes the SUV to lose control. It rolls over. One of the passengers flies out the window, and the vehicle rolls on top of them. Let me figure out how I can do this. I need to put an image to censor like half of this. I need to cover up like this half of the fucking screen because there is a... Yeah, so... That's a state trooper. Which is different from a sheriff, which is different from the police department. Greg Abbott sends them in to do shit like this, so... State troopers might as well be ICE at this point. State troopers might as well be Border Patrol at this fucking point. PD are not the only cops out there that are, like, cooperating with ICE. So yeah, they just rolled the vehicle over, causing this person to fly out the window. They're lifeless on the fucking floor, and the SUV is now upside down. Roll over, they just said. They're running up. 2 people climb out of the vehicle. 2 additional people.
5421 El Paso, Zambia. That's approximately 8 to 9 bodies. On 21.
So the person that the vehicle rolled over got up. They're still alive.
Rising EMS now.
And they're sending EMS. If I recall correctly, that migrant broke both legs. But we can get back to the article now. But that is another aspect of Operation Lone Star, and very likely another aspect of what we're going to be seeing nationwide, which is cooperation between sheriffs, state troopers. They might keep the police department out of it just so that they can make public statements that police aren't going to work with ICE and give us that false sense of security. But let's listen.
A DPS trooper chases a red Chevy Equinox on Interstate 10, headed west. The flashes of red and blue lights reflect off the SUV's tail as both vehicles speed past other motorists. The DPS dash camera shows what happens when the fleeing driver stops and the state trooper gets out of his vehicle.
Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands!
He yells, "Let me see your hands," but instead the driver takes off again. The chase continues, at times reaching more than 100 miles per hour. The more than 40-minute chase ends when the driver loses control and the Equinox rolls over twice. A passenger flies out of a window. The vehicle appears to land on the man's legs. Troopers rush to the car with guns drawn and start to pull the driver and 6 passengers out of the SUV. An ambulance arrives 13 minutes later, according to the dashcam video. Milton Gonzalez was behind the wheel when the car crashed in June of 2022. I interviewed him recently at the state jail in Far East El Paso County. Gonzalez is serving a 5-year sentence for smuggling with likelihood of serious bodily injury or death. He told me about the chase from behind a glass partition. The volume of the phone line was low and hard to record, but I could hear him. Gonzalez claims he did not know the people in the car were undocumented. He says he was recruited on social media to give people a ride and offered hundreds of dollars per passenger, but wouldn't give an exact amount. He was 19 years old when he led DPS troopers on the high-speed chase, at times on the wrong side of the road. Gonzalez says the passengers did not want him to stop. He says he was afraid but kept driving until the crash. El Paso's Chief Public Defender Kelly Childress says her office represented about 300 individuals charged with human smuggling this year.
If we want to address the problem of giving people rides who may be migrants, and the state of Texas really wants to put resources into addressing that, well, then start educating people.
Law enforcement says smugglers recruit drivers, often U.S. citizens, offering them a minimum of $300 per passenger. Childress says often drivers are teens or young adults.
And you look at that person in the face and they've never been arrested before, and you have to tell them, by the way, if you're convicted, you're going to prison for a minimum of 10 years.
El Paso County Commissioner Sergio Coronado questions whether there is a better way for DPS to catch smugglers than chasing young drivers.
We know that these high-speed chases are happening. We know they're even happening in neighborhoods. They're happening where there's plenty of other people and traffic.
Many chases happen in his precinct in northwest El Paso. That's where 17-year-old Joseph Maldonado was driving a Dodge Charger with 6 migrants when he was being chased. He ran a red light in early October and hit a blue Toyota Corolla, nearly ripping the roof off the compact car. The crash during morning rush hour killed 42-year-old Wendy Rodriguez, who was on her way to work, according to court documents. Maldonado is charged with smuggling and murder. Back at the jail,
A woman was killed on her way to work as a result of these high-speed chases. A civilian casualty to Greg Abbott's hardline border policy.
Back at the jail.
But we can get into the casualties associated with hardline border policy in a second, like I usually do.
Back at the jail, Gonzalez, now 22, tells me he has this advice for others. Think twice before accepting what seems like easy money to break the law. I'm Aaron Montes in El Paso.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton went on a real estate buying spree, but hasn't disclosed how many of those properties to state ethics regulators. Okay. Texas General Land Office paid $8.82 million for about 1,318 acres of that Land Commissioner Dr. Buckingham has offered the Trump administration for detention facilities for its mass deportation plan. What a nice guy. Dawn Buckingham, I'm sorry. Dawn, what a nice lady. Here, you can use my land for your concentration camps. Okay. Oh, SpaceX using up all of fucking Brownsville's water. ICE could be reading your encrypted text messages. Paragon. We knew this already, but an Israeli firm whose spyware Graphite focuses on breaching encrypted messaging applications such as Telegram, Signal, and ICE is already acquiring the technology. But yeah, we're going to have to wait about updates about what could happen in El Paso. Here we go. Effective January 20th, 2025, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, the functionalities of CBP-1 that previously allowed undocumented aliens to submit advanced information and schedule appointments at 8 Southwest border ports of entry is no longer available. All appointments have been canceled. So we have an official statement about the app going down yesterday. The Pentagon is sending up to 1,500 active duty troops to help secure the U.S.-Mexico border after Trump's order. Which brings us back to this that I was going to play earlier, but I ADHD'd my way. Okay. Welcome in, Maddie. I'm back doing an early stream because, you know.
President Donald Trump's immigration policies go into effect. Officials tell CNN that the U.S. military is sending thousands of additional troops to the southern U.S. border. This comes just 2 days after President Trump ordered the military to step up its presence there. About 2,200 active duty forces are already at the border.
So what I've covered so far, kind of just did a overview of all the shit we talked about yesterday. Went through Aaron Montes' statement from fucking PD will not be cooperating with ICE. But I think that might be a cop-out because it's usually the sheriffs and the state troopers that cooperate with ICE. We watched a fucking high-speed chase that ended in injuries. You can see state troopers were the ones involved there. And yeah, now we're catching up on U.S. troops being sent to the southern border. comparing it to last year when it was Texas National Guard being sent by Abbott. What I'm getting at here is everything Abbott did a year ago, Trump is doing now.
As part of Joint Task Force North, they're mostly performing support roles for Customs and Border Patrol.
Joint Task Force North is a new one. Joint Task Force North. Last year was BORTAC. Now, Joint Task Force North. That is a very thumb-looking person right there. What the fuck is this though? Created in 1989, Joint Task Force North. This is initially not established as a joint task force in response to George W. Bush's renewed counter-drug efforts. Okay. Federal law enforcement agencies within the southern border to counter the flow of illegal drugs in the United States. 4 border states of California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Potential for military assistance in counter-drug efforts in 2004 redesignation has expanded to include providing homeland security and support for the nation's federal law enforcement agencies, so their jurisdiction has just been expanding over time. But it's the Army at the border, which we knew he was going to do from the moment he announced a state of emergency at the border. That's what that was for, to allow for this. What I'm waiting for, because he invoked that that act of 1798, the alien whatever the fuck, these troops might be sent into Mexico to go after the cartels.
Officials say the new arrivals.
But so far we're just seeing them at the border, so this is a 10-minute watch that I'm going to try very hard not to pause during.
Will be doing much of the same, as they're not authorized to perform any sort of law enforcement role. Let's bring in Natasha Bertrand, who's at the Pentagon for us. So Natasha, what more do we know at this point?
Yeah, Zane, so we know at this point that the U.S. military is ordering thousands of additional active duty troops to the border to augment Customs and Border Patrol activities and mission operations down there. But they're not going to be engaged in any kind of law enforcement role, because that is actually banned by a law, by a centuries-old law called Posse Comitatus, which prevents the U.S. military from being used domestically for law enforcement purposes. So they're primarily going to be, doing things like data entry, transportation of migrants around different facilities, intelligence support, as well as some additional support in air operations. But they're not going to be engaging extensively in the day-to-day with migrants. But still, this is significant because it does make good on President Trump's promise. That
sounds like a technicality to me. I know I said I wasn't going to pause, but it kind of sounds like they're bullshitting us when they say that, like, military, customs, and police, the entire fucking apparatus of militarization isn't now fucking blobbing together into one nightmare blob of fucking fascism. I'm like 99% sure we're going to see Operation Lone Star on a national scale now. And I'm up to like maybe 60-70% sure that those troops are going to enter Mexico to go after cartels. And they're going to use the fentanyl excuse the same way George Bush said WMDs.
earlier this week that he is going to augment the presence of the U.S. military at the border. Now, as you said, there are roughly 2,200 active duty troops already at the border, and they are supported by Texas National Guard contingent there. And so what this is going to do is essentially lay the groundwork, we're told, for an even bigger military footprint to be sent in the coming weeks and months to the border. This is not, something that the president can, just in terms of ordering them to engage in law enforcement functions. This is something that the president has the authority to do under the Insurrection Act. And he has said, in an executive order issued Monday, that if within 90 days he and the Secretary of Defense determine that the border is not under control and that more resources need to be used to control the flow of migrants across the border, then he can invoke the Insurrection Act, which would then allow the U.S. military to perform those law enforcement functions like arrests, searches, and seizures, as well as seizing drugs.
So now we have this executive order that's trending. Or fuck a grok summary. An executive order to end the Equal Opportunity Act. And I guess we're trying to allow discrimination based on race, color, religion, national origin. We're rolling back fucking equal opportunity from 1967. We're invoking fucking legislation that was written in the 1700s. But as she says, it does make good on his promise.
And so this is something that we need to watch for. But for now, this is really just President Trump and the Department of Defense making good on.
This is the Juarez border. Remember her? Remember this lady from yesterday? Remember her crying? Talking about she doesn't know what the fuck she's gonna do. There she is again, like the same people from yesterday. I guess it's the same footage. But look, there's Juarez. There's El Paso in the news again. Doesn't seem like we ever end up on national news except, when it's a shooting at a Walmart, when it's people supposedly invading the border.
Their promise to augment, Customs and Border Patrol as well as DHS more broadly.
Like, look at this shit. Just the show that they're doing.
Their resources at the southern border as they have been stretched thin in recent years with the ongoing flow of migrants across the U.S.-Mexico border, Zane.
All right, Natasha Bertrand, live for us there. Thank you so much. All right, Donald Trump's new border czar says that deportation operations have actually already begun. Tom Homan told Fox News earlier that ICE agents arrested 308 serious criminals in the past 24 hours. The president says that ICE agents can now make arrests at churches and at schools, which were previously considered off limits because they are.
So last Trump administration, you saw religious leaders housing migrants in their churches as kind of like a safe place for them. We can't do that anymore. That is now changed. That is one thing that is now different than last time. The more I think, well, what did we do last time? The more I realize this is different. This is different. The pushback from the left is a lot weaker. The push from the fucking fascists is a lot stronger. We're facing a bigger fucking thing with a lot less resources.
Sensitive places. Julius Vargas Jones joins us live now from the U.S.-Mexican border in California, which is, of course, ground zero for the immigration battle. So, Julia, just the fact that these...
Also, you gotta stop saying ground zero. We gotta stop comparing shit to 9/11. Swear to God.
Raids.
I'm at the border, ground zero.
This rounding up of undocumented immigrants, these arrests have actually already begun. Just talk us through what the reaction...
This rounding up, okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna pause so much. When they say round up, they're talking about human beings like they're cattle. I just want to point that out as well.
...is where you are, especially because California is a sanctuary state.
Yeah, exactly, Zane. Look, people are scared. We're talking to folks who are saying it's fear and uncertainty. That's what's being brought here, both for people who are in the immigration system. So folks who are already in the process, who have a piece of paper, Zane, that says that they can stay in the United States through their immigration process. They are quite fearful at this point because they don't know what will happen. There's just been so many changes. And yes, California is a sanctuary state. It's also home to dozens of sanctuary cities. But at this point, people don't know, and officials here don't know. People who work with migrants don't know what will come of this. There's just been too much so quickly. We spoke yesterday with a family from Venezuela who came.
Honestly, at this point, fuck anybody that says, I don't want to cause a panic. I don't want to make people scared. I think the worst thing you can fucking do right now is go to somebody that has an immigration status that makes them very fucking vulnerable. The worst thing you can do is lull them into a false sense of security and walk them right into fucking ISIS fucking hands. We don't know how fucking bad it is. It looks like it's pretty bad, you know? Churches, schools, places of employment.
Over and who said, look, yes, we got our appointment for asylum.
Like, what if you woke up this morning and you found out that, hey, if I go to work today, if I go to the store, if the state trooper pulls behind me while I'm driving, they might just make me disappear from this country forever, and I'll just be in a place that I'm not familiar with, starting over.
We had our initial interview, but we don't know if this program will even be standing by the time that we get to the end of this process. And another thing that happened that I think is important to note is that these organizations along here, the southern border in California, who have been working in partnership with federal authorities like Catholic Charities, which we visited yesterday, and we spoke with the CEO, who told us, look, they're saying they're not going to release migrants to our care any longer. So it raises a lot of questions of what will happen to these people. He said to us they've since 2021, once the Remain in Mexico policy was lifted and migrants started to be able to stay in the United States while they waited for their date in court, they have been key to helping about 400,000 people to get on their way in the United States to make it to their date in court. And now where will they go? Will they be held in detention centers here in the United States? Will they be dropped off in these cities across the U.S. border to be on their own, or will they be told to stay in Mexico? All of this just adding to the uncertainty, Zane, that we're feeling here at the U.S.-Mexico border.
President Donald Trump's promise of mass deportations in the U.S. is causing panic and anxiety among immigrant communities. His administration issuing new directives, including one that allows immigration authorities to arrest people near and inside places previously considered off limits, and that includes schools and churches. CNN's Ed Lavandera visited one Texas city that's now preparing for raids.
Good morning, Cactus Elementary!
Every school day at Cactus Elementary starts like this.
How many of those kids look like this guy here? I wonder how this guy feels about the fact that, like, a lot of these kids might have their parents taken away. A lot of these kids might end up in ICE custody themselves because they're a dependent of a migrant. Maybe the kid is a citizen, but the parent isn't. You know? Every day, hand on the heart, I pledge allegiance to the flag that is threatening to send me back to Mexico.
Moments of patriotism and reflection with a high-energy dose of inspiration from Principal T.J. Funderburg.
You do that every morning?
Yes, sir.
When I looked out on the student body this morning,
I mean, it's quite something to think that we're in the Texas Panhandle, and that's what your student body looks like.
It's always very.
Why is it surprising? Why is it surprising that there are a lot of Mexicans in a state that borders Mexico? I still don't fucking understand this. This fucking image that people have in their head that if you go to Texas, it's a bunch of like old white dudes in cowboy hats. You know what I mean?
Very eye-opening to people that come here. We've got.
It's really crazy how, like, you know, you guys aren't 100% white, you know?
13, 14 different languages, all these different cultures represented. And yeah, we're up here in the heart of the Texas Panhandle. Everybody think it'd be farm and ranching country and kids in cowboy hats, and we've got just about a little bit of everything.
The population in Cactus, Texas is about 3,000 people, but the diversity is staggering. There's an African restaurant, safari restaurant and halal meat. There's an Asian grocery store. There's a Mexican butcher shop. There's a Guatemalan grocery. There's also.
Of course there is. Of course there is. These things are fucking normal. What's not normal is living in this weird crystal fascist fucking like authoritarian state that they're pushing for.
Also an Islamic center. What draws so many immigrants and migrants here to a community like this is the work, and it is brutal, backbreaking work. There is a meat processing plant that runs 24 hours a day. There are dairy.
And it's this really weird fucking thing. Yesterday, CNN had this fucking guy on with a cowboy hat that was like using the exploited labor of migrants as like a talking point to like convince people not to deport them. With a like fakest accent and a cowboy hat on. Who's gonna milk your cows and pick your lettuce? Like we're just like it's just this unspoken underclass, you know?
Farms.
It's really backbreaking labor, you know? Normal people wouldn't want to do it, but they do it.
That run nonstop. These are the kinds of jobs that the United States economy and food supply rely on every day. It's also the kind of work that only immigrants, by and large, are willing to do. There are towns like Cactus, Texas, all over the country. And with President Donald Trump promising to carry out mass deportations, a sense of fear.
Also, snow in northern Texas, kind of wild. Off topic, but kind of wild.
And uncertainty looms over these streets. What are you hearing specifically from people?
They're scared. They don't know if they're gonna be able to stay here. You know, a lot of them have been here for decades. They've built their lives here. Their kids are here. You know, everyone they know is here.
Elizabeth Oliveros grew up in Cactus, the daughter of immigrants who became citizens and earned their living working in the city's meat processing plant. She went away to college, became a lawyer, and moved back to Cactus to work as an immigration attorney. And if there were to be mass deportations here in this city, what would happen to it?
It'd be quite empty. I think there's a lot of people here.
It could quite literally become a ghost town. It could quite literally be a ghost town. Like, yeah, the economic fucking like cost of deporting the fucking exploited workforce that fucking this entire fucking shaky ass fucking machine is built on. Yeah, the meat processing plant fucking goes away. The jobs fucking go away. And all the people that were fucking benefiting from that exploited labor aren't going to be able to live here. They're all going to fucking move out. And then it's just going to be some cute ghost town that you could visit on YouTube.
That don't have status, that keep a lot of the businesses, the smaller businesses around here running. So if immigrants leave, I don't know where they're going to find workers as hardworking as some of the immigrants.
As we walked the streets of Cactus, it was clear that most residents, regardless of their immigration status, didn't want to speak with us on camera, and especially didn't want to talk about President Trump's deportation dreams.
I don't like politics. I don't like.
The fear among many in this town and other agricultural communities across the country is that vital food production would be paralyzed and communities torn apart. The meat process.
And it's very interesting because like Trump claims that he's gonna get rid of the inflation, he's gonna bring food costs down. That's not gonna fucking happen, dude. Everything's gonna go up. We're gonna realize how much of our fucking like food supply depends on the people that we're throwing under the bus right now.
Plant here says it only hires people authorized to work. Under different management in 2006, the plant was raided by immigration authorities. About 300 people suspected of identity theft or being in the country.
2006. Look how many buses there are.
Illegally were detained, many of them deported. Elizabeth Oliveros remembers the day clearly.
I was in elementary school, and I remember they had to keep us because they didn't know how many of us, our parents were gone. And a lot of my friends, their parents were gone. Gone. And a lot of my...
I want to hear that again.
Identity theft or being in the country illegally were detained, many of them deported. Elizabeth Oliveros remembers the day clearly.
I was in elementary school, and I remember they had to keep us because they didn't know how many of us, our parents were.
They had to keep the students at the school because they didn't know how many of them still had parents. Go back to that fucking, like, them with their hands on their hearts doing the Pledge of Allegiance, a whole fucking auditorium full of fucking Mexican-American kids. They kept them at school because they didn't know how many of them still had parents back in 2006, 19 years ago.
Gone. And a lot of my friends, their parents were gone.
Wow.
They got deported.
9.
The children at
Like one day you're at school and you can't go home.
Cactus Elementary are mostly oblivious to the political storms brewing outside these school walls. Principal TJ Funderburg is bracing for whatever comes next.
It's just the unknown that scares me to death.
He says as many as half the kids in the school could have undocumented family members. These are the kinds of places where the reality of mass deportations could play out.
And now ICE is authorized to enter schools, churches, workplaces. What was it?
Out.
To the people who are going to be making these decisions about deportations, whether it's mass deportations, just broad or targeted, what's your message to them?
Just, I mean, come talk to me. come meet these kids. Think, you know, I know there has to be rules, there has to be checks, there has to be balances, but it can't just be paper. This community of people that have come together, that are here now from all these different countries, all these different places, we can do amazing things.
On the campaign trail, President Donald Trump promised
the largest deportation operation in American history.
But many of the millions of migrants that Trump wants to deport are a key source of labor in the United States, particularly in the agriculture industry.
We want a secure border, but we also understand that immigrant labor is important to agriculture.
There are plenty of people who would be willing to come here lawfully and do the work.
Here's a look at how Trump's immigration plans could up.
They shut down the fucking app to come here legally. They threw all the applications out the window, so when they say shit like this, it really doesn't fucking mean anything.
Come here lawfully and do the work.
Here's a look at how Trump's immigration plans could upend agriculture in the U.S. About 2/3 of the nation's crop farm workers are immigrants, and roughly 42% of them are not legally authorized to work in the U.S., according to the Department of Agriculture.
Workers don't even ask if the food is going to go into a Republican or Democratic home. They just work to feed us.
Teresa Romero is the president of the labor union United.
They work to feed their families, and we give them fucking like the worst poverty wages in the country. We pay them less than anybody else to do the work that is harder than any other work. Like we don't have to act like they're like saints that are doing this for our fucking good. We have backed them into that position as their only option. And now we're deporting them.
Farm workers. She says migrants often perform some of the most challenging and unappealing jobs in agriculture.
This is a work that is demanding, that is dangerous, that is very physical. There's long hours. The workers are dying.
Too often the phrase, oh, these are jobs Americans won't do, is thrown around. Frankly, it's rather untrue and insulting.
Laura.
It's insulting because you think that the white working class is gonna get paid $2.50 an hour to fucking like be out in the field in the sun for fucking half a day, like 12 hours a fucking day. You think anybody is gonna fucking believe that $2.50 an hour in a field is gonna fucking like pay fucking $2,400 a month rent? Like, you think the American working class wants to be treated the way we treat migrants? Because I thought that's what they were afraid of.
Reese leads the Border Security and Immigration Center at the Heritage Foundation.
But of course, the Heritage Foundation, I believe, isn't that Project 2025? Aren't they the Project 2025 people?
Conservative think tank and lobbying group that oversees the controversial Project 2025.
Okay, I could have just listened and stopped pausing.
If the employers are hiring illegal aliens, that's in violation of the law, and those aliens should be removed.
But removing migrants, like Trump has proposed, could significantly disrupt the food supply chain. Consider the meatpacking industry. As of 2023, immigrants made up more than 40% of all of its labor, and half of those workers were not legally authorized to work in the U.S.
Our labor situation is already in a tough spot in agriculture.
Russell Baining is the president of the Texas Farm.
Oh, I didn't realize you were in voice chat. Let me open that up. Just in case.
Bureau, which
because if you wanna chime in, or if time permits, you have the option.
Advocates for farmers and ranchers across the state.
If those type of products aren't produced in this country and the American consumer wants them, then they're going to have to come from somewhere else.
We are going to be forced to import our foods. And what is Trump saying about imports? Tariffs.
Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them. And we're going to put very serious tariffs on Mexico and Canada, because Canada, they come through Canada too.
The left uses this as a scare tactic of your price of avocados will skyrocket if we deport illegal aliens.
It will. How the fuck is it not? How many benzos is this fucking lady on?
Of your price of avocados will skyrocket if we deport illegal aliens is ridiculous. National security and sovereignty is a little more important than the cost of guacamole.
People need food to survive. If people cannot afford food, people do not eat. If people do not eat, people fucking die. This is actually very basic in terms of like running a fucking country. That's why whenever I go on to fucking Peter Fairley's fucking page and I see what fucking North Korea is up to, it's Kim Jong-il standing in front of a bunch of greenhouses because they know, like, the most important thing is having a big enough harvest so that people don't fucking starve. But I guess we've gotten so used to fucking exploiting other countries for their resources that we've forgotten that after we fucking piss everybody off and nobody wants to trade with us anymore, we fucking put in all these fucking tariffs on imports, trying to make everything in America, except we fired everybody that does the labor. There's a missing piece to the puzzle. It's the fucking labor.
Moly.
There currently is a legal pathway for farmers to hire migrant labor. It's called the H-2A Temporary Agricultural Worker Program. Through this, migrants can be brought to the U.S. to meet agricultural needs. Demand for H-2A workers soared by nearly 65% between 2017 and 2022, underscoring agriculture's reliance on migrants for labor.
Plenty of other agricultural workers have.
And how much do you think it's gonna spike now? Because a lot has fucking changed. But let's hear what the fucking Xanax fucking Heritage Foundation lady has to say.
Followed the law. So why should we give a benefit to the person who has not followed the law, not taken advantage of that program year after year after year?
But here's the catch. The H-2A program doesn't really work for every industry since it's seasonal. So farms that take care of livestock year-round can't benefit from the program.
We hope we can get a balance and work with the administration to expand the H-2A program where the guest workers come in, but they can work in any type of industry, part of agriculture that's basically year-round.
But this proposition...
This motherfucker's gonna have to feed his own pigs for the first time in his life. This motherfucker's gonna touch farm equipment for the first time in his fucking life.
Concerns farm unions.
One of the problems is that they also want to expand it to year-round and lower the salaries of these workers, which will affect workers who have been working for 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Immigration.
$2.50 an hour? That's too much. Something veganism. It's just crazy, like, how normalized it is, you know, that, like, of course they're gonna be exploited, you know? Like, it's just normal to us that, like, they don't get, like, the same out of their labor that we get. And we're not getting enough out of our labor either. We're not getting paid enough. They need to fucking raise more than we do, honestly. Like, I can't fucking imagine.
Has long been a key concern.
And yeah, if we're gonna get into like the humane treatment of livestock in the agricultural industry, then like yeah, that's gonna be a rabbit hole. The thing about the vegan, like everybody go vegan thing for me is how accessible is that kind of diet? How many people have control over their diet? You know, my living situation, I don't buy the groceries here, you know, or for a lot of people, you know, I mean, systemically, I don't fucking know. You know, when there's a shortage of meat, they're going to have to find some protein to replace it. They tend to price gouge when they see like demand trends that, you know, might go in their favor.
For voters during presidential elections, particularly in 2024.
The biggest threat to your unions is millions of people coming across the border, because you're not going to have your jobs anymore.
Nearly 82% of Trump voters said immigration was a very important issue.
I understand they're not citizens, but they've also been productive members of society, and they haven't been convicted of a felony. Can't we figure out a way to have a legal pathway?
Trump tapped Tom Homan to be the border czar and oversee the mass deportation process. Homan, the former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, is a hardliner on illegal immigration.
I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country in violation of federal law. You better start packing now.
Trump and Homan both say that the deportations will accomplish two things. It will open up more job opportunities for U.S. citizens, and it will shut down migrant trafficking networks that might harbor criminals.
But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals.
We simply cannot sustain the numbers of people who have been let in over the past 4 years. So it is incumbent to get back to the rule of law, to enforce the laws that Congress passed.
Union organizations like United Farm Workers are working to educate members about what to do if a raid happens at their farm.
What are they going to do if they have a home on their name? What are they want to do if they're deported and they have minor children? Prepare them for the worst, and we want to make sure that they understand that they still have the power to defend themselves in their working areas, because without farm workers, without this immigrant community, we would not have an agricultural industry.
I mean, I don't even know what the fuck to say. There's always, if you see ICE activity, fucking raid watch, record it, put what intersection it's from. A lot of people are gonna be like, I'm getting off Facebook forever, but you know what? I don't like fucking creepy ass fucking Mark Zuckerberg either. But the fact of the matter is, Facebook is like the one social media app where you're connected to your local community. The people you have added on Facebook typically are the people that live near you, people that you have proximity to, people in your community that drive around the same roads as you, that have a similar commute to work as you. So if somebody in the community can drive safely around, spot something, post it, so that somebody who cannot drive safely around, because this is a threat to them, they have some kind of warning to avoid it. Take a photo or video, narrate the events that you're witnessing, make sure that it's a public post, and post it on social media. They were using hashtag RaidWatch, but this is kind of outdated. This is from 2017. I don't think it's an active hashtag currently, but it kind of seems like we need this, so I'm going to keep hammering this in until it catches on. This also happened. Took down the Office of Gun Violence Protection, and in the very same day there was a high school shooting that killed 2 students. And because that's an ongoing or breaking fucking news thing, any coverage of that would just be speculative. I did ask my friend, who is a journalist, about the sheriffs. It looks like he got back to me. That was the I can't show it because I'm on Facebook. Let me bring up his Twitter. So Aaron Montes, local journalist, KTEP. We listened to his story earlier, and he is the one that was at the press briefing where they were saying that the police department isn't going to enforce or arrest anybody, but they added on
state DPS and federal partners. A lot of the laws that are on the books in the state in trafficking, that's a state law. Drug trafficking, state law. Weapons, state law. So we work together to determine who is the best entity to enforce the law and get the best prosecution.
So the wording they're using is the El Paso Police Department does not enforce immigration laws. That is not to say that they will not cooperate with immigration. And it doesn't mean that the sheriffs will not be enforcing immigration law. Almost every video that we've seen, including the fucking chases that end in fucking fatalities often, which is going to be way down here. He was doing a story on that months ago. So these chases are state troopers, sheriffs, and they often end in fatal crashes. One of them was a 43-year-old woman driving to work, got killed during a police chase. She had nothing to do with what was going on, but the sheriffs and Department of Public Safety were driving so dangerously on the road to chase this person that it led to a fatal crash. So Operation Lone Star did not go anywhere. The very nature of Operation Lone Star is local law enforcement working in collaboration with ICE to pursue immigrants and deport them. We already covered that 1,500 troops have been sent to the border. They're here in my hometown. Hooray. Mirroring Greg Abbott's move last year to send Texas National Guard to the border. But yeah, here's what Aaron Montes said. I asked him, what about the county? What about the sheriffs? He said asking. Another person chimed in, I would imagine that they are in a similar boat. However, it's important to note that a majority of count duties are state mandates. I asked, is Operation Lone Star the state laws he is referring to? Aaron Montes responds, that and existing laws. So, what we're seeing here is a false sense of security from our mayor when they say that the El Paso Police Department do not enforce immigration laws. They are not telling us that the El Paso Police Department will not help ICE and aid in the arrests, simply that they will not be the ones performing the arrest itself.
State DPS and federal partners. A lot of the
state DPS and federal partners, state trooper vehicles, those sheriffs with the goofy fucking cowboy hats, highway patrol. PD is one piece of a very big puzzle. One person asked, what about the feds pass-through grant money to the state and locales, cooperation required? Yes. But have the city or county accepted Lone Star funds from Abbott? County requested Lone Star funds have not received any funding from the state from Operation Lone Star. So El Paso is cooperating with Operation Lone Star, but not receiving any funds for it. This is what we're hearing 21 minutes ago from this journalist. There's a lot less that we can do now. People are focused on some dumb shit too, like the whole like bombard fucking the news with like weird fucking like outrageous stuff. Who gives a fuck that this fucking like preacher lady like gave a snarky sermon? Who gives a fuck? This is just fucking bullshit drama that's distracting us from the shit that's actually fucking affecting people's lives. Like, it's just gossip. Who gives a fuck? Oh, what a fucking own, you know? You said snarky things in front of Trump and he had to listen. And now he's demanding an apology. What is that doing to help the people that are getting deported? What does that do to help anybody?
Lo del CBP One el programa era para esta situación, CBP One, entonces.
So they shut everything down. They can no longer cross the border. They let a lot of people collect at the border, and then you take a lot of photos of all the people, and then the writer gonna fucking like post it on Fox News and say, "Look, the invasion has began." Just like every other time.
Ahorita acabó CBP One, no hay continuación del programa, ¿sale? Entonces, en esa cuestión del programa acabó. Ahorita va información de licenciada para las personas que no escucharon, porque que no escucharon, ¿sale? Una pregunta, licenciada.
Hay llanto y incertidumbre, de todo hay, hay de todo. Entonces, ¿qué pensamos hacer? O sea, inmigración tampoco nos podrá ayudar para poder avanzar. ¿Qué pensamos? O sea, entonces, ¿qué piensan hacer con nosotros? ¿Qué creen? ¿Que somos unos animales? También somos seres humanos y tienen que entender que también tienen familia.
Did they really put like no subtitles for that?
Que también tienen familia.
God, Forbes is just dog shit. They didn't even fucking put subtitles so people could know what she's saying.
Bueno, estamos esperando por migración a ver qué luz verde nos da, porque aquí estamos frenados, no podemos hacer nada. Entonces necesitamos una respuesta de migración lo más pronto posible, porque
O sea, no
hay una
podemos ni
necesidad.
avanzar porque,
Hay una necesidad.
No tenemos...
No levanta la cabeza, porque con la cabeza agacha me va a salir la carga. Ayer saliste así.
Democratically led states suing over President Trump's move to end birthright citizenship say the issue is settled law, and Mexico has launched a new app for Mexican nationals facing detention or deportation in the U.S. Good afternoon. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. The Trump administration says federal agents can now go into places previously off limits to remove migrants. That includes children's schools, hospitals, and churches. It's part of Trump's executive actions on immigration. That includes his move to end birthright citizenship, a right protected by the U.S. Constitution. New Jersey and several democratically led states are suing over the issue. New Jersey's State Attorney General Matthew Platkin says birthright citizenship is settled law.
It's been upheld by the Supreme Court multiple times. This is, until Monday night, not something that was ever contested by a president who signed an order that was extraordinary, unprecedented, and upended the rule of law.
He spoke to NPR's Morning Edition. There's no word yet of any
So at what point do we start calling this an ethnic cleansing? You know, asking for a friend. At what point do we start labeling this an ethnic cleansing? You know, we know that this is all profiling people based on their race, their ethnicity. And the purpose of this is to get rid of said ethnicity. Is this not an ethnic cleansing? Or do we gotta wait till, like, troops start dropping bombs on people before we give it that label? How far in? I'm just wondering.
Major immigration raids that are expected to target sanctuary jurisdictions. Trump administration officials have said that Chicago could be one of the cities targeted. From member station WBEZ, Mawa Iqbal reports Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is vowing to protect state residents who are in the U.S. illegally.
Pritzker says he still has not heard any concrete plans from President Trump. He reiterated at a press conference that people with criminal convictions who don't have legal status.
HSI is Homeland Security Investigations, by the way. ICE, Border Patrol, all that shit tends to fall under the Department of Homeland Security umbrella. Thanks a lot, George Bush.
Should be deported. However, he says the threat of deportation is looming over Chicago's immigrant neighborhoods, some of which he visited Monday.
I was in businesses yesterday that were relatively empty because people are afraid to show up. Because even documented immigrants, even citizens who are from another country but now are citizens of the United States, have relatives who are undocumented, they're afraid.
The Chicago City Council last week blocked an ordinance that would allow Chicago police to work with federal immigration authorities. For NPR News, I'm Mawa Iqbal in Springfield, Illinois.
Mexico has launched a new app for Mexican nationals who are facing deportation or detention in the U.S. Arizona Public Media's Paola Rodriguez reports it explains their legal rights and steps to take in emergencies.
The Consul app also contains a button for users to alert their emergency contacts and officials at the nearest consulate if they're facing detention. Rafael Barcelo Durazo heads the Mexican consulate in Tucson, Arizona, and says the app comes at a time when calls from Mexican nationals are flooding their call center.
The app is making easier the access to communicate with the consulates anytime, but particularly now that so many people are concerned about what is going to mean all the migratory changes that the new administration has announced.
On Monday alone, the consulate received over 1,500 calls about what to do amid mass deportation concerns. For NPR News, I'm Paola Rodriguez in Tucson.
President Trump's nominee for Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, is facing new misconduct accusations. His former sister-in-law, Danielle Hegseth, has signed an affidavit alleging he drank heavily and abused his former wife, Samantha. At his confirmation hearing, Hegseth rejected similar misconduct and sexual assault accusations. NPR's Deirdre Walsh says Hegseth's lawyer is contradicting the new allegations.
NPR reached out to his attorney, Tim Parlatore. He has not responded, but Parlatore told NBC, which first reported on this affidavit, that Samantha Hegseth, this ex-wife, never alleged any of abuse and actually signed court documents acknowledging there was no abuse, and she affirmed that as part of Hegseth's background check.
NPR's Deirdre Walsh reporting. President Trump's executive actions on energy also call for boosting resource development in Alaska. Republican leaders in Alaska are praising these, but Alaska Public Media's Liz Ruskin reports environmental groups are pledging to fight the president's actions.
The order covers nearly every Alaska land use controversy this century. It calls for new oil leases in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and roads across protected federal land to help logging and mining. It's exactly what Alaska's all-Republican congressional delegation wanted. But Alaskans who advocated for these protections are seeing years of work erased. Conservation advocates are ramping up for lawsuits. As for Trump's order to restore the name Mount McKinley, a new poll by Alaska Survey Research found Alaskans by a wide margin favor the mountain's current name, Denali. For NPR News, I'm Liz Ruskin.
President Trump invited 3 executives to the White House yesterday to announce a new venture known as Stargate. NPR's Tamara Keith reports it's a large investment in artificial intelligence infrastructure.
The CEOs of SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle said 10 massive data centers that will be used to run AI technology are already under construction in Texas, and more could be possible. They praised Trump, and he in turn praised the multi-billion-dollar investment.
This monumental undertaking is a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential under a new president. Let me be a new president. I didn't say it, they did.
Trump has a history of inviting executives to make splashy announcements like this one at the White House, though they haven't always lived up to the hype. Tamara Keith, NPR News, the White House.
Britain's Prince Harry and a senior British lawmaker have reached a settlement against tabloid newspapers owned by billionaire Rupert Murdoch. They had accused the papers of hacking their phones and invading their privacy. The settlement of the lawsuit ends the chance of a trial in London. That was expected to reveal evidence that might have been damaging to Murdoch and some of the tabloid executives. Israel has launched a new operation in the occupied West Bank, with arrests and deaths reported among Palestinians there. But about 50 miles away in the Palestinian Gaza Strip, a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas is holding for the fourth day. NPR's Aya Batrawi reports.
From the southern city of Rafah to the edges of northern Jabalia, the Gaza Strip lies in ruins, the result of more than a year of war and sustained Israeli airstrikes. Palestinians are able to see now what's left of their homes in areas Israeli forces have withdrawn from. But there's little reprieve here. Entire neighborhoods have been leveled, turning cities into gray mounds of rubble as far as the eye can see. Gaza's health ministry says more than 47,000 people were killed by Israel.
I'm gonna pause it just for a quick second. I gotta go help my family. Okay, I'm back. Back to staring into the void. Here we go.
Israeli fire in the war. Local health officials say they've recovered around 150 bodies from the rubble and decay of different parts of Gaza since the ceasefire began Sunday, and they estimate more than 10,000 bodies remain missing under the rubble. Aya Batrawi, NPR News.
I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News.
So, one of our, I guess El Paso's got, I thought we had more. I actually thought we would have more than just one person arrested at January 6th, but I guess they're going to give us the full-ass name of the guy.
Now to the latest on an El Paso man who was released from prison after being sentenced on charges related to the January 6th U.S. Capitol breach. 48-year-old David Arredondo was released as a result of President Donald Trump pardoning over 1,500 people who were also sentenced regarding the attack. As we have previously reported, Arredondo pled guilty in the District of Columbia to multiple misdemeanor offenses and felony charges. Video footage from in and outside the Capitol building on January 6th shows Arredondo assaulting a law enforcement officer and staying inside the Capitol for nearly 35 minutes. FBI agents arrested Arredondo on October 26th, 2022.
So, going into the local El Paso Chud Watch, I can introduce in Anthony Aguero, who ran for Congress and lost. Was at January 6th, like stomping on a BLM like floor mural, saying his left nut matters. He used to follow us when we were like, you know, providing food to migrants that ICE dropped off with nothing. He used to follow us with his little camera streaming to like Rumble or whatever, and he used to stream to Facebook, and I would like look at his fucking stream and they would be saying stuff like shoot them when they cross. So a lot of internalized racism, and he has a habit of bringing white supremacy groups to El Paso. But here he is with the January 6th political prisoner, Stuart Rhodes of the Oath Keepers. Stuart Rhodes and Anthony Aguero. So when the militias show up, I could probably look up this fool's name and find a live feed of it. Just your typical MAGA stuff.
I'm a veteran. I'm an American. I am a patriot.
Do you remember when the bikers for Trump wrote "Born to Ride" and then wrote Trump underneath it, and then it looked like they were wearing jackets that said "Born to Ride Trump"? Like they're born to ride Trump's penis. Remember that?
I ride my heart.
That was pretty funny. Anyway, old guy fucking bought a fucking midlife crisis motorcycle. Wears a lot of leather. Kids don't talk to him. And yeah, Real America News. He used to fucking like, he never went to school for journalism, but he wears a press vest, and What American News gives him attention. Yeah. But yeah, the fucking January 6th guy. Where was it? There he fucking is. Stuart Rhodes. It's out there. Matter of fact, let me see if I can. I gotta pull it up. Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. These boys are born to ride Donald J. Trump. The shirts are still for sale. You could be the... Oh shit. I crossed out the wrong one. You could be the proud owner of this fucking gem. I need some music in the background, don't I? Yeah, you could be the proud owner of this fucking monstrosity. Oath Keepers, huh? I haven't fucking, like, kept up with this guy, but like last I saw, he was like giving a tour of the border with fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has been talking about fucking drone striking the cartels.
Also sentenced regarding the...
Yeah, there he is. Weird that the fucking like local news didn't use his name. They should have. Fucking cowards. Let's see how the Bay Area is responding.
Prosecutors have been directed to investigate any state or local officials who stand in the way of immigration enforcement under President Trump's administration. The memo also asks their civil division to help identify state and local laws and policies that threaten to impede the Trump administration's immigration initiatives and potentially challenge them in court. It's something that may cause a clash between officials in Bay Area cities known as sanctuary cities, such as San Francisco, Berkeley, Santa Clara County, and others. The San Francisco Sheriff's Office put out a statement in Spanish on X to reassure the public that they will not support any legislation that undermines San Francisco's sanctuary city ordinance.
Nueva administración presidencial. La oficina del alguacil respalda nuestras leyes de ciudad santuario.
Oh, let me translate for you. Trust me, bro. Trust me.
Diseñadas para mejorar la seguridad pública.
On God, for real, for real. We're totally not going to deport you. Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro.
Denunciar delitos o buscar ayuda sin temor a la deportación.
In Spanish, he said the residents of San Francisco have also valued compassion and inclusion. The recent elections prove public security is a priority. They went on to say that the sheriff's office...
The recent elections had both Democrats and Republicans advocating for a more militarized border, and the candidate that won is vowing to do mass deportations and is currently just pushing out legislation expanding the reach of ICE. If the last election proved anything in regards to immigration, like, it proves that neither fucking party cares about these people. How are people going to interpret that any other fucking way?
Will protect undocumented immigrants and that they do not arrest people for civil immigration violations. They also included resources for immigrants looking for help during this time. The San Francisco City Attorney's Office put out a statement in response to this, saying in part, the purpose of San Francisco's sanctuary laws is not to interfere with lawful federal immigration enforcement. Immigration enforcement is the federal government's job, not the responsibility of state or local governments. San Francisco is in full compliance with federal law. And this all comes as top officials with the Department of Homeland Security have confirmed with ABC News that major U.S. cities will be a target of immigration raids starting this week. We're told the immigration operations you could see involve high priority criminal targets that DHS teams have been investigating for months. Live in studio, Lena Howland, ABC 7 News.
California's still burning.
That's good. Air Patrol 578 outside investigation. San Francisco. It's fucking Canyon. 75 right, go ahead. There might be a couple more Type 1 tankers, but there's also the mast out of Channel Islands if you guys are interested.
That air traffic is crazy.
Breeze. Battalion 11, go ahead. Copy, thanks. And air attack Helco on the briefing. Helco, air attack on the brief, go. Yeah, I'm sure you see it, but at the lower third left flank, you've got active flame outside that dark line. I gotcha. Down here to the south of here. I see. Air attack, branch 3, air to ground. Branch 3, air attack, stand by. 5 right, air attack on, brief. Go ahead. Hey, we got a spot outside the retardant line, back towards the heel there in a bowl. Not sure if we'll be able to come back and get some retardant around it. 32808, ridge top lane. Yeah, let's go with Quebec. I'll fall back to there to pick that up.
What's this guy covering?
Yeah, they're dropping in that horseshoe just south in front of that thing, but I'm sure they saw it. Yeah, they're
Oh god.
flying right over it, so we'll talk to them and see if we can get them on that. Copy that.
Are we really like focusing on the bishop?
Drop you guys made, we wanted that spur is to the south. You can see the lowest smoke on that north face slope there. We'll let them handle. Left on the exit. And on this side of the drainage underneath you now, you got these big heavy KV power lines. 7. Okay. 3. You can put a big spot at 22.
What's the percentage of containment? Cal Fire 68% contained. That still looks pretty fucking bad, man. That's oh wow. 28 mile per hour winds in this area. That's gonna feed a lot of shit. 23,448 acres. Sanitation District open space. Westbridge Canyon. Mansville open space. Topanga State Park. Santa Ynez Canyon Park. Tuna Canyon. All the way out to Monte Nido with evacuation orders. That is not looking better than before at all. Currently 68% contained. Oh. 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 this is really bad. What is this where the air traffic is? Yeah, it looks like it. That is massive. Wilson. Just everything above Santa Clarita. Almost all the way up to Grapevine. Just reaching for it. That's so bad. Oh, his voice not working? Oh, I see your thing moving. Hold on. Oh, okay. I know what it is. I need to change my audio device because I think it's sending you to a different. Yeah, it's sending you to my wired headphones. I need to switch that to here. Test, test. You should have audio now, Maddie. If you don't mind giving a little test.
I hear you now. I'm in 2 voice channels though. But yeah, it seems to be working now. Yeah, I hear myself on your stream and I hear you in the Discord, yeah.
Oh, okay. What did you ask on voice? Oh, the Hughes fire? If it's a Hughes fire?
Yeah, if it's the Hughes fire.
I don't know if it has a label.
Yeah, it does. It is that one, I think.
This top one? I just see that it's north of Santa Clarita. I'm not super familiar with California at this level.
Yeah, I'm just barely getting used to California.
But yeah, I think that's the one that they're doing all these airdrops on up here. I think that's what they're monitoring right here. Oh, there's even like a small one down here below Santa Clarita. It's really spread, like. Oh yeah, here we go. Incident Hughes. Or this helicopter is labeled for the Hughes fire. I think that's where the airdrops are happening, right? That's where all these helicopters and air travel is. Castle Lake State Recreation Area. Yeah, let me put your avatar on here.
Actually, what I was saying was that I'm not sure if my avatar would work really well because I'm in another voice channel elsewhere, so it would be activating for when I voice chat.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, for sure. Okay.
I sent you another link for my alt account that I'm in here with. That I'd be curious to see if it works properly, but the way it's working seems like it could also maybe not work.
Let's see. URL. I think I thought I had it on this scene.
Actually, I can check
myself,
I guess.
No, the other scene. And then I'm gonna put that other URL in.
Yeah, it does seem to be, well, let's see if it, oh, is it working?
Yeah, it's like lighting up.
Oh, that works. Okay, cool. and I'm on push to talk, so it'll flash manually or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if it's like lighting up when you're talking on another thing. God, there's really not much else to cover. I mean, well, I guess there is. We want to speculate about a fucking school shooting. There's not really any point in that.
Erratic. Go ahead and tilt down, because now you can get the scope of the burning in here. There is just that line that basically starts at Lake Hughes Road, and as Assad opens up, you can see just...
Don't those fucking like Rapture people, or no, it was like Nostradamus that was like, there will be a wall of fire.
How wide and far this column of flames has extended. It is virtually, you can see on the other bank, on the northern side of the lake, you can just see how closely the flames are burning
Johnny Cash
towards the
who
water.
said,
You know, Amanda
"I
Starantino,
fell
who
into a
lives
burning
in this
ring of
area, she
fire."
was talking about how oftentimes this lake is almost used as a reservoir for the water dropping aircraft, and we have not heard the percussion of any of the helicopters over us in quite some time, just because simply...
It feels like everybody's kind of forgotten about the fire and the chaos of everything else going on. And it really appears to have just gotten significantly worse.
This fire...
Which is crazy, because there's like a lot of like streamers that are from Los Angeles.
That is kind of roaring through my microphone right now to just kind of give you that sort of sensory...
Like, I guess it's not really like reaching like wherever the hell Hassan is. Who else is from LA?
Yeah, it's like LA County, which I guess goes quite a bit up north.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, it's a pretty dense, large area, but I guess if you're east, it's all West Los Angeles, huh? Oh, Murrieta, California. I remember the first fucking border convoy that came to protest migrants. They all came from Murrieta. Notable chud spot.
Where's your last? Air attack from Branch 3. How do you copy? 3, a little bit better. Go ahead.
Looks like a goddamn volcano at this point.
About earlier is probably still standing, and the control room is asking me to send it right back to the desk.
Alrighty, Jeff, thanks so much. We could definitely hear the wind, see the smoke, and what a perfect descriptor when he said it looked like a river of flames in that area there. So dangerous.
And certainly the winds have been a huge concern. We thought we were getting a little bit of a break from the strongest of the winds, and Marina, unfortunately, it wasn't enough of a break, because here we go again with another fire.
Unfortunately, that's right, Amy and Juan. And even with winds at 30 to 40 miles per hour, which is pretty much what we're seeing in this region right now, we are in the middle of 2 days that were a whole lot worse. So yesterday in this region, we were at 60 to 70 miles per hour, and tomorrow we're going to be back in that time frame as well. But we're going to stay up to 40 mile per hour potential winds here in this region as we head into tonight. And I'll show you that hour by hour here in just a moment. But right now you can see that in this area, the current wind
Rain chances on Sunday.
29 miles per hour in Castaic Junction, and then 30 miles per hour as we move down into Santa Clarita. And they're looking at Castaic Lake next to where the Hughes fire.
But also,
temperatures are very warm. They are in the upper 60s to low 70s, and winds are sustained out of the northeast at about 20 to 35 miles per hour. So that is pushing the fire to the southwest. So when you have a northeasterly wind, that's why you can see that plume of smoke that's heading down into the I-5 I-5 corridor and out into the Santa Clarita Valley because that is in a southwesterly direction. So the next 24 hours, hour by hour, until about 5 o'clock tonight, we are going to be looking at winds up to 30, 35 miles per hour. Then starting at about 6 a.m., so that 12-hour time is going to be at about 15 to potentially 20 miles per hour. So that'll be helpful. But then cranking it back up again, because remember, Santa Anas are intensifying tomorrow. Our offshore wind is strengthening for our Thursday. And so then we're going to see those winds bump back up into that 40, 50, potentially 60 mile per hour winds as we head into.
Well, fucking hope that gets better. Yeah, there's like rain chances maybe.
Up here, Blake. Down to the retard. Okay, looks like you backed off to support the road right now. Yeah, doing the dozer line break. 4-1, how we doing? Spacing good. Okay, won't be left on the exit.
I didn't mess with audio settings, so I'm not sure if I still hear you properly.
So the fence is kind of the right point, left point, fixed wing versus rotor wing. Okay. Nothing leads to the fear. You're going to be close. Power lines, felt the yuck here. 55 through 93, how do you copy? Yeah. 75, Tinker 91412, east 5,500. 1,500. Once you crest the ridge there by the middle of the fire, it's down to 5,000. That covers level 8. You'll be working at Bravo 7, 8. Seven copy. I'm at 9,000 right now. 11's at 7,000, and they're kind of sandwiching the jets between us. Hey Chris, check your phone if you can. Thanks, Lynn. Copy. Thanks. See that. See all these active flames at my 12?
The deep snow deadens any sound.
That's where the scoopers are working. Okay.
The time of silence has returned.
11 for radio check. Branch 3, ops. Air pump. I guess about 22 knots on the cell. Okay. Gonna go early. Tag and extend. I'll hold the line for you. Nice pothole on final. Okay. Should have been de-energized. Heavy inbound. You're going to be working with Bravo 7, 8. We're doing the handoff. Okay, we'll try to get one in there. If I run at it the other way, though. Copy that. We're switching radios right now. Somebody, I think, just called in at 12, and I couldn't hear them either.
Okay, good copy. And while I got you, can I get kind of a rundown on your branch?
Air tactics. Taker 9-1.
All right, I'm gonna leave it on this screen for a while.
Your left 9 o'clock.
Because apparently I gotta go drive across town. All of a sudden. Yeah, I'm gonna be AFK for a bit.
7875, how copy?
No, no worries.
1-4, copy that. Bravo 78's got you loud and clear on air tactics. Alpha, have you loud and clear. Now we got you inside 11 o'clock to you there. And stand by just a second.
helicopters, but we'd like to move a few up to the mid-flank area as well.
Tag and extend the dozer line up towards the dozer. You see them up there. Want to go courage level 8. Haven't been down in there yet, but there's some bumps. Let me go get some numbers real quick. We got time. We're going to take it to that curve just to the east of the bulldozer. We may stop at that curve if we get there.
Yeah, I see the existing retardant now, and I'll just...
Getting both my accounts with the admin terms would probably be a good idea. Well, I don't know if anyone would join, but...
Okay, gotcha now. We're clearing out back to San Bernardino. The dozer line, or the retardant line back at the heel is a fence. So we need to keep the Quebecs on the west side, or on the east side of that retardant line. Don't let them cross back there at the heel.
Okay, so you got control of the Quebec, they got to stay east of the retardant line.
Affirm, and they should be well east of there if they're just working the bull there and then following you guys up with the retardant line.
Okay, and they're dipping out of is it Bouquet or Banquet?
They're dipping out of Banquet. There's just 2 of them now. 2 other ones went for fuel. They'll be back shortly. Not have call signs on them. AirTag didn't have them, but they were well ahead of us, so I wasn't too worried about it.
Copy, I got eyes on one of them.
Other than that, just continuing supporting that dozer line and working downhill there.
Okay, good copy. Thanks for the update.
I'll catch you guys later.
Power lines
I'm down to hang out and
On the exit, perpendicular
comment
to
what I
us.
can, I guess.
Copy 190 on the heading, 2200 on the altitude, and carried out to that kink.
That you're clear down to 3,500 right now. I'm a little under your left nose. I got a couple scoopers cleared in, still looking for them.
Be on site, we're down to 3,000 to 500, 914.
Still here.
Coming through 4,500.
Alright, I'm looking for you. I got you on the box.
I'll expedite, go below you.
Okay.
Hey, put frequencies on your phone if you could check it.
Thank you.
Buster 11, coming up on your 10 o'clock low. You can see the crews working up grade or up that spur as we need it above that next crew.
I guess I'm not driving across town after all.
That's where we're dropping right now.
No, that's fine.
I'll wait for my headphones to... There we go.
We need you to cool off the line for the crew above us.
Yeah, like, I don't know where... My dad wants me to, like, go check the mail, but, like, we got new mailboxes and the mailbox key doesn't work. And then he's like, I want you to go to the post office because you ordered a birth certificate. I checked the status online and, like, it hasn't even been sent out. I was supposed to just, like, drop everything and go drive across town. It's very frustrating and difficult to put the time aside to stream. Sometimes I feel like I'm on call all the goddamn time.
Yeah, I feel that about, like, if I were to go live, I still get, like, interrupted and stuff.
Usually it's good if I, like, do it later in the day, but, like, then that changed. And I don't know what my new work schedule is going to be. That's going to be weird to work out. Interviewing all the fucking people being pardoned. I'm going to be really frustrated if it's like all day people are talking about the bishop, yup. Like, do you think that's gonna change evangelicals' minds? Do people really think this is gonna be like a blow to Donald Trump in any measurable way? Because I don't think so. Let's see what they're saying. Let's see what the dialogue is.
The gun cult. Like one word out of a passage and a false interpretation is enough for someone to be like, yeah, actually, the Rod of Iron Ministries is the name of the fucking church. We've covered it extensively on this broadcast. Like the guys that go get married to their guns and stuff. It's super basic shit.
Mr. President, this is the issue that I feel. But don't get up there and try to preach.
Like fucking all the evangelical right wing are gonna do is like call her a false prophet and denounce her. And then fucking pray to fucking Saint Trump.
And said that he needed to be replaced. So, you know.
Look at the children. There's children there too that are hearing this message.
Well, here's the thing. You know, the president's team should have known that she could have said things that were inappropriate for, or, you know, stuff that they didn't need to hear or was not appropriate.
Just Google her.
That's all they would have to do. But instead, they put him in that position.
Oh, yeah, this is a old meme, but pretty funny still. Every lifelong Catholic I've ever met is like, I think we're supposed to give this food to poor people. And every adult convert is like, the archon of Constantinople's epistle on the Pentecostine rites of the Eucharist clearly states women shouldn't have driver's licenses. Pronounced archon. No, I love the Catholic converts. What is this? Can't get enough of these guys? Nighttime erection data from my 19-year-old son and me.
What the fuck?
His duration is 2 minutes longer than mine. Raise children to stand tall, be firm, and be upright. Did your son
That's gotta be a
permission to share these? This is very sensitive and private information. I excitedly proposed it.
That can't be real. I refuse to believe that's real.
Yeah, one got to be made up, but two, it would be a lovely bodily positive openness if someone were like that. Maybe. No, I don't know.
I don't know. I think comparing it to a family member is where it gets really weird. Like measuring it on your own, sure, you know, but
there is like, no, why didn't they post it themselves at the least? I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, my browser just froze. Oh yeah, my browser froze. I have no browser right now. Or it's just this tab, I guess.
I'm not sure my thing is lighting up either, but I'm not. Doesn't matter. I don't know. I hope that's not overloading things. Oh wait, now it is lighting up.
I think I need to close some tabs. I do just have like a lot of stuff just fucking playing.
She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology.
So this is the hyperfixation, I guess, you know. This is like what everybody's going to be talking about. The woke bishop should apologize. And like, I mean, I guess I've kind of like covered everything I could cover about like the ICE raid situation. I mean, we can go a little bit deeper and find out what exactly they've been saying about fucking drone striking the cartels, but...
So I agree with you. Maybe pull him aside after the service and say, Mr. President, may I talk to you for a little bit? There's something in my community that bothers me and I need to tell you about, and just have an adult conversation, but do it privately. because now everyone's talking
but
about this.
the issue that she's asking for mercy on when it comes to the border, did you go and speak to any of the families that were killed by illegals? How about coming into New York and talk to the cops that had fire shot at them? Did you ask for mercy for the cops? I mean, that's why you don't get involved in this. She could have said, let's bring...
Fox News is just filled with ghouls. It's just terrible human beings.
Last night, when signing the executive orders declaring the cartels foreign terrorist organizations, the president was asked about boots on the ground. Take a listen.
President Trump, if cartels are now going to be seen as foreign terror organizations, would you think about ordering U.S. Special Forces into Mexico to take them out?
Could happen. Stranger things have happened.
This is actually an executive order designating the cartels and other organizations to be foreign terrorist organizations.
That's a big one.
Yes, sir.
People have wanted to do this for years. So they are now designated as terrorist organizations, foreign. And Mexico probably doesn't want that. But we have to do what's right.
All right, Jonathan, when he says stranger things have happened, what does it look like, assuming the president declares war, and he has a lot of powers to do that, with Congress, depending on how it works, of targeted drone strikes on cartel leaders, Navy SEAL raids, Delta Force, whatever it is, raids on drug lab production facilities, fentanyl trafficking organizations?
Well, first of all, Leland, he doesn't have to declare war because these individuals are on a terrorist list now. The United States
can go into Mexico and kill people with impunity as long as you accuse them of being a cartel or terrorist. Right?
Is technically in a offensive as well as defensive position now, and they can bring all of the assets the United States has to bear, which includes intel, military, and also the white collar aspect of this, because people have to realize these cartels are businesses. If they're not making money, they're not going to exist. And so now the United States can look at them the same way they look at Iran, for instance.
Seizing cartel money from Mexico and bringing it to the United States, asset forfeiture.
And go after their financials. Although the difference here is that primarily cartels are a cash business, but they can start to go after them and the nations in which they're in and put pressure on them and start working this systematically. When I was in Colombia, we led training missions, and we were not allowed to go in there as a military operation because it was a law enforcement
I get that,
operation.
Jonathan. My question, though, is how difficult really is it? I mean, when we think about these cartels, and they are gangs, in many cases, they have armies that are better equipped than, say, the Mexican military. But it wouldn't really take that much, would it, if the order was given to go down to Mexico and start knocking some heads, a few drone strikes, a couple raids, and the cartels might have a problem recruiting people all of a sudden, wouldn't they?
Well, it could be, but see, the cartels are involved in the intimidation process of a lot of these states, the neighborhoods, the people that work down there. So when you look at the people who work for the cartel, there's a difference between those individuals, the soldiers for the cartel, and the leaders, the actual business leaders of the cartel. So they're going to define all these things. If they just went down there and tried to start knocking heads, you're going to get into a quagmire because you'll just push them into the shadows. And so we have to look at this systematically, which I believe Trump will do. And as far as the border goes and the immigrants, you can see that the border, every drug case that I was ever a part of in the FBI went back either to the Canadian border or to the southern border, but they always involved cartels or drug organization, criminal enterprises outside of the United States.
Jonathan, excuse me for interrupting you. President Trump just talked about this a few minutes ago. Take a listen.
Canada, very much so. They've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. They could have stopped them, and they didn't. and they've killed 300,000 people last year. My opinion, have been destroyed by drugs, by fentanyl. The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive. The fentanyl coming through Mexico is massive, and people are getting killed, and families are being.
Is this not like the same talking point that Tyler Oliveira has been fucking like hammering since he got big? Does this not just fit perfectly into like the fucking Tyler Oliveira fucking rhetoric?
Destroyed.
If President Trump, and it seems to be in the process of quote unquote sealing the southern border, how much of a crimp does that put on the cartels that may make going after their drug trade easier?
It makes a tremendous impact, or it is a tremendous impact on their ability to move their product, if we look at this as a business, into the United States, which is their biggest buyer. And so blocking the border, putting a wall there on the southern border means that you are causing their main delivery avenue a disruption. So that is exactly what we need to start doing, is looking at these individual ways. But I have to point this out, Leland. This is not, now because they've designated these individuals as terrorists, it's not just a law enforcement issue. It's now a national security issue. And so that puts all the assets at play, which is way different than the cartel issue in Colombia before this issue arose.
You think about it just in terms of terrorism, it's about time, right? You at some point with fentanyl deaths, you're having a 9/11 every 11 days.
Thanks for watching. Go to join.
What did this fucking jackass add at the end of that?
Before this
issue
arose.
You think about it just in terms of terrorism, it's about time, right?
He interrupted him just to like shoehorn this point in.
At some point with fentanyl deaths, you're having a 9/11 every 11 days.
Thanks.
And just awkwardly cuts out.
For watching, go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on.
Who owns News Nation? What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I forget. I think they're no, I forget.
WGN?
Vague recollections of.
Oh, they're Nexstar.
Sort of like Sinclair, maybe, but
it's Nexstar. Yeah, Nexstar Media Group, which is like the other big one. They're not that different than Sinclair. How long did I stream today? It was a pretty short one, just 2.5 hours. I think I'm gonna end it and then probably just continue the fucking Adult Swim at home tonight. I think I need to run to the post office for my dad.
Cool.
But I don't know. Covered the news. It was a pretty decent stream, I guess. I mean, anything I add on to the whole like border situation is just like speculating, or just like, let's see where these people are at. And it's literally just fucking Fox and Friends. I'm really afraid that like everybody's gonna focus on this like Bishop shit, and nobody's gonna talk about the border as all this is going on. Like the distraction thing is gonna work, you know? It's all gonna be the Zeke Heil and the fucking Bishop lady. And then like California's burning. God. Yeah. Signing off. I'll be back at like 7 p.m. Mountain Time, probably. Somewhere around there. Thanks for hanging. Seculoid Live.
I don't know if you had any interest in a raid, but how it was 3 people, now it's 2. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll do it either way. And Send.
Because every time I call the Republican, they just misgender me and treat me like shit, but at least they answer the phone.